to site sometimes on weekends. So in those days, when you pass your courses, it comes into the daily graphic. So some months later, my name came into the graphic that I should go for an interview at Tech on architecture. And in fact, that was my first trip to Kumasi. It was, when I went there, I had no clue what to say during the interview and all that. But I did the interview anyway. And I passed. And then I just had some peace within me that this is the place to be. Legon had taken me. I'd even gotten Volta Hall. But I changed my mind and went to KNUST. And I am so grateful to God that I didn't do law in French. I don't think I would have enjoyed it.
God bless you for choosing our school, KNUST. Your father is a wise man.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question, how was your architecture period when you were studying? I think, did you study for about 6 years each year? So, yeah, were you classmates? I apologize. No, I think, did you know each other back then, some way, somehow?
No way, no. Mr.
I was in KNUST with Hayford.
Oh, that's why she said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
If you want to know,
yes.
When her father was in the final year, I was in second year.
When the father was in final year, you were in second year. My apologies. My apologies. But my question being that how was your study doing architecture? Because I have a friend, I don't know if you know him, he's called Albert Eswama. He's an architect. He's at Achimota. Albert should be like 64. Yes, but basically, he and other people have this, like, who have done architecture. When I talk to them, it's like, it was difficult, it was hell, it was discouraging, but they are proud they are now architects. So how was the journey?
Okay, I think I don't think it has changed yet as it is now. As it was before, I think it is still like that. But some of the younger ones these days, they don't call it architecture, they call it architecture. Oh, wow. That's how they call it now. Yes. Yeah. Maybe I should let you speak what you went through doing it.
Mr. So I think you should give a gist of your time.
Yes,
okay.
Give a gist of
all right.
Time.
Well, the lecturers will give you a job that they know that if you have to spend your time doing it, it should take you probably 2 weeks. Or let me say 2 months, rather. And they will tell you, finish this in 3 weeks. So what else will you do? You have to stay up night to do it. So it is only architectural students who go to the lecture area in the evenings, in the night, and stay till night over. So we named that place Mecca. And I think that name is still there.
Yes.
Because we all trooped there as if we go into Mecca. And you will go and stay there till the following morning, because maybe your presentation is that day or the next day, and you must finish everything. And just before I let it do it, one thing about architecture also is that nobody will collect your drawings or your project and go and sit on the table and sit down like this and mark it and give you points. You put it on the board, a big hall, where this hall is bigger, but there are panels, and you put all your work on it all around. And then, the day of the jury, the lecturers, students, everybody is standing there. And you go and explain your work on the board. And people will comment on it. As they comment and pierce your heart, you are failing or you are passing. And that's why they call it now maybe architecture instead of architecture. So, Auntie Vic, tell them a bit about your time.
Architecture is a very demanding and taxing course. In fact, I think the emotion you need to go through architecture is perseverance. Knowing that this is what God has called me to, and I must finish it. Otherwise, at a point, nothing really spurs you on to go on. You know, it's a course where people come with very good grades. So you are a guru where you came from. And then you come and you do a course which disciplines you so much that you are sort of bottom of the class. So you're already down mentally. Physically, it is tasking. You do something you think you've imagined, maybe you do a multi-story building. You think you've done a good design, you display it on the boards, the general public, other people from other courses come, and then the lecturer tells you, what do you think you've done? What have you done? Is it like the second coming of Jesus Christ? I mean, if you are not strong, you will burst into tears in front of people because you haven't slept for like 3 days, and then this is said to you. People did give up. After our first degree, some of my mates didn't come back. It was too much for them. Some too, one of my mates at the undergrad level, he told the jurors point blank that I wanted to do engineering. It's my father who said I should do architecture. I don't like the course. So if I haven't finished and you won't pass me, too bad. They passed him because it was so frustrating. But by God's grace, it's human beings who do architecture. People have finished. Mr. Sowah is sitting here. Yeah. He finished way before I did. It's human beings who did it. So it is doable. Once you believe it is God who has called you, He'll give you the strength. You just do not give up. You cannot give up. When you are sleeping on your paper, you get up and do it again. You have to finish what God has called you to do.
No matter how long you sleep, you wake up.
If I can just tell you something, how you feel at the jury, call it, the process of evaluating your work. We call it jury. And I remember we had a Japanese lecturer, and there was a Canadian lecturer. So those two, they were really tormentors. And Mr. Still something Yawasaki or something. You squat on the floor and raise his head and look at your work and say, I don't like this work, but I don't know why.
The name sounds difficult.
Yeah. He will tell you, oh, I don't like this work and I don't know why. But and that is a point he's made, because of course, when you as an architect you done work and somebody looks at it, the person should feel drawn to it, attracted by it, to look at it more and whatever. And he says he's looking at your work and he's looking at it and he's not being at it. So he says he doesn't like it, but he doesn't know why. You know. So sometimes, as you say, it could be very demanding. And this is work you must have sat down day and night, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to have got to the stage you got. And if somebody says, looks at it and says, I don't like it, but I don't know why.
Me, I'll be like, sir, please, what do you mean you don't know why? Because that's disheartening. That's disheartening. So maybe architecture is for humility. You do architecture for humility.
It's really, architecture humbles you. Really.
I've never heard anybody who has done architecture say that, oh, architecture was good, it was easy, like I advise and encourage the young ones to try it. I haven't heard that in my life. They were the people who spend more time on campus than in the hostel. Yeah, so sometimes they'll advise you, if you want to be kind of alone in your hostel, choose an architecture student. They are barely around in the room, so you have the room as your roommate. So you have the place to yourself. So let's come back a bit. Secondary school life, your friends you picked up and kept, and how that journey went. Can you throw a bit of light in that? You gave your life to Christ doing O-level. After O-level, between O-level and A-level. Okay, sorry. But through secondary school and then picking up friends, could you give us a bit of insight as to how you picked your friends or the people?
Well, as you asking this, I'm thinking back to say, who are my secondary school friends, which I know, whatever. You know. But can't remember anybody now. The ones that I remember now,
Yeah.
And I see them, I still see them occasionally. One went to the army, in the Chawi. He's retired, but living there. Then, of course, the other one did law, and then went into the army as well. That's Mr. Mbaka and Matefi. So, they are the people that I can see. But with the friends I picked in the university,
Yeah.
quite a number of them are still around. Some of them didn't do architecture. They did engineering, whatever. And some of them are still around.
How did you become friends with your engineering friends?
Well, I guess simply because we were in the same hall,
Okay.
and we were meeting up and whatever. As we were driving here, I was saying something to my wife that really my first impression getting to the university, you can imagine, I was in secondary school, then I got into the university where I met seniors like my father, other seniors who were in the same hall, but they behaved towards you as if you were equal. They would sit in the JCR with you, play games, talk, and whatever. And there was no reference to anybody being a junior or a senior. We all talked the same. And of course, I was also telling her about the fact that in the JCR there were equipment, games, musical equipment, television. It was there for everybody to use. And nobody abused it. Nobody stole anything. Now you don't have gramophone records. By that time, they had gramophone records. And they were there in the hall. Nobody took any away.
I think your mic is off. I think your hand was on the button.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now it's nobody took anything away, and that really also what should I say? Maybe programmed me in my life that yes, it is indeed important to be how do you call it careful or manage property or items which don't necessarily belong to you but belongs to other people and whatever. You see, because I'm saying it because I realize that now in the university you couldn't go and leave things there and you go back and find it, you know, which is really, well, you were there. So
Yeah. Okay, what hall were you in?
I was in the greatest of the halls. Which one do you know?
Katanga or Koti?
No, of course not Katanga.
Independent.
You're all getting it wrong. Republic Hall is the best hall. Republic Hall is the best hall.
Is the best when it comes to bringing people together, entertainment.
Yes.
It had the best whole week.
Yes, in Republic, I was very involved in the entertainment and whatever. I like music and things. So I fixed loudspeakers from the JCR to the dining hall so we could play music and understand it, whatever there. And in fact, the symbol on the Republic Hall, it was a competition which I won, and I designed that symbol in
Is it the fowl?
You see, like it's like a cockerel.
Yeah, cockerel.
With the wings.
Wings, yeah.
But the wings are swords, like
yeah.
a state sword, or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll boast a bit about something too. You know the current GIA symbol. I did that as well. But that one was in the competition. The Ghana Institute of Architects symbol. It wasn't a competition, but I did it. And actually, when I was young, before secondary school even, I was doing some sort of artistic work, I'll say. And my father was very proud of me on that. I'll produce belt, how do you call it? What you put the belt in? The buckle.
The buckle.
Yes. I was producing belt buckles in brass and things like that, you know. So when I got to do architecture, the first year when we're doing what we call graphic communication, we put in objects and things together, and that kind of things was what I enjoyed most, and that's what made me know that I was in the right place. Yes.
Victoria, so your journey, making friends.
Friends.
Yes, friends.
Friends.
How yeah.
I would say some of my primary school mates went to Wesley Girls also. So we met there. So we're not close friends, we're still friends. And I would say that the close friends I made was after I got born again, and we were in the Christian fellowship during our sixth form days. We were the executive organizing, so we were really close. Some of us continued on to KNUST. So my close friends are mostly Wesley Girls and KNUST. One of my very close friends unfortunately passed away maybe about 6 years ago. Yeah, very painful. And I made friends during architecture because you sort of work close together. Yeah, and then Ridge Youth, of course. Friends for life. I mean, the Marfos, Kofi Sampon, we grew up together. Yes, from the youth days
The
to
original
UST, the evangelism together, camp meetings. So we become more of a family than our children have grown up together. Yes, Irene Akwakun, you know, Siku, Sanjay, Michael McCarthy, we're all in the fellowship together. Sabra was a teacher, Godwin Pinto, prayer secretary. Pray. So Charles Crab. Yes, so those have become my circle of friends. Work-wise, yes, a professional friend or two, but it's not close friends like the friends from
friends.
yes, the rich crowd. Yes.
Interesting. So I have a question about what exactly architecture entails. Usually, some people, when they are considering what to do, like in terms of studying in school and stuff, they think, okay, when they think of architecture, they just think, okay, lots of drawing maybe building plans and stuff. But do you want to maybe touch base on that? What role does like architecture play in society? Why would you say that it's important to study architecture?
You can
start.
Yes,
Architecture sort of encompasses the built environment. So apart from buildings, interior, exterior, and all, and you also work with allied professionals whose work you are supposed to coordinate. So you do a bit of engineering, you do a bit of quantity surveying, costing, you do a bit of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. You are supposed to touch on all those things. That's what makes architecture, the course, so difficult, because you have to pack all those things into one course, touch everything, because on the work field, you are the leader of the team, normally. Yes. So, the built environment, I would say. Buildings, Mr. Sowah, do we do roads? Roads?
Well, you know, you
in
have
an estate. Sorry. In an estate, you okay, maybe you map out the flow, but not really the actual.
You got it. You design it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a saying that jack of all trades, master of none. Now, I'm proud to tell you that architects are jack of all trades, master of all. Because if you don't understand what it takes to do the electrical engineering part of the building or the mechanical engineering part of the building, like she said, it will be difficult for you to know when the work is not being properly done or the end result is not what you like. Because, for instance, you want these lights in the line in which they are. You know, what people don't know is that most of the things you see at the end of a building, they are all part of the architect's design. because the electrical engineer may want to put 4 lights this way, that way. But you would think about the room when it is finished and people are sitting in there. How would they feel? So you direct him that, no, I like the lights to be this way. And you help select the kind of fittings you want as well. So the architect really does a lot of the color scheme of a room. It has to come from the architect. What you were asking about interior design. Yes, the architect should also know a lot of interior design. But you will get an interior designer and you discuss and guide that interior designer to get the work done the way it should be. So you design it, then the interior decorator will come and he will put things the way the drawing is saying they should. So as an architect, you've got to understand all those things. You see, to give you an example, if Auntie Vic here, today or tomorrow, were to design a theater for doctors to work in and whatever, she must know what they do, how they do, to be able to design the theater to be correct and appropriate for the doctors to be able to perform well there. If the theater is not well designed, the doctors won't be able to work in well. So she's got to go and find out the equipment they use, every equipment they use, whether electrical or mechanical, she's got to know. And then she will direct the electrical engineers, the mechanical engineers, to fit it the way it should be, where the lights should be, everything in that theater. So I've just talked about that. So think about your kitchen at home, for instance. Same she does in the theater, she will do in your kitchen to make the kitchen work well for you. So this is the bit about architecture. Architecture is very enjoyable, very satisfying. When you feel fulfilled when you do a bit of job and people like it and they praise it, you feel fulfilled. Auntie Vic?
To add to that, what makes me happy is like you have an old building sitting there looking dilapidated, and then you add a touch of paint, change the tile, change the ceiling, the lights, and the place gets transformed. It gives so much joy to see how new can come out of old and supposedly decayed. These are some of the joys of, architecture.
I've heard some, is it rumor saying that architects and structural engineers, they fight a lot? Because the architect would draw some free-flowing form, and the structural engineer would be like, this thing can't suspend here, or it's too much work to do, and stuff like that. So I find that interesting. National Theatre, which is just around the corner, is a very beautiful architecture. Although I'm sad that when I enter, the space is small, but the thing looks massive. Yeah, it looks grand. So,
well, you see, it seems like we fight with the structural engineers because you see, look at this room. You see where one column is. You see where the other column is. Remember, there's somebody standing on the top. People are standing on the top there, so the floor must stay, and there must be something to hold it.
The weight.
Yeah, the weight. So the structural engineer will tell you, hey, you made it too long, so it will be difficult for me to get a beam to span it, to hold it. And you are insisting that I don't want the columns in the way, because when the priest is standing here, the people are there, I want them to see everything. If I can tell you a life story, and that life story is about the old church building. And the structural engineer who was there was a big man, and I was the one in charge. You see, the old church building had a sort of like a canopy, wing, a concrete wing, like that, like a canopy, which was not designed for people to walk on. Oh. But that was what I incorporated to become inside of the church. At first it was outside, like it was like hanging outside. But you see that now, when you go on the balcony upstairs, that's what you are working on.
Okay, so initially it wasn't meant for
No,
human
it was
beings.
outside.
It was outside.
Yeah.
So the church.
The church
kind of
walls were inside there, and that was hanging like a cantilever.
outside. Wow.
Yeah. And when I was doing the renovation of the church to expand it and whatever, one side had been expanded, but they didn't have the canopy on the top, and I was supposed to do the other side to extend it as well. And I must say that I didn't have people in the church who would tell me what they think should be done. So virtually I had to think what should be done. And they didn't, when I explained, they didn't object to it. Like bringing the offices, the kitchen, the main office, and
Behind
all that.
the altar.
Nobody told me. I just put them there and extended the church this way. Then I wanted that place to become to come inside and be able to work on. Now, this senior engineer, my very, 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 very serious senior engineer, I won't mention name, but if anybody here knows who it is, fine. He didn't want to do it. He told me it was not possible. And he was so senior, I also couldn't tell him anything. So I did something which is quite unprofessional, but I did it because I was bent on having it how it is there now. So, you know, I had some junior engineers that I was using in my other works elsewhere. But in the church, because he is an engineer working, worshiping with us, naturally he had to do the engineering work. So I got those engineers, and they did the design to make that thing work. So he wasn't coming to site that often too. And I used the Chinese contractors who did the theater you are talking about. I used them. So one time when he came to the site, he found out I have done it. And he was very, very angry with me. But I took it in, and I apologized and whatever. But the important thing was that I had it done.
Why yet?
Yeah, and nobody can tell me it's not working now.
Oh, yes.
It's working.
The rich church we know today is because of what done.
It's working.
Yeah. I have some questions. Okay, so the first question is, can you touch on the rise of kiosk community and how we can improve our streetscape in the cities? This person is an architect, a young architect. And then the second one was the role of town and country planning in architecture. And then the third one is key challenges for urbanization in Ghana. These are okay.
The kiosk one touches a very sore spot of mine. When I drive around Accra, I get distressed because I think the place looks really nasty and disorganized. When we were younger, where we used to live, you know, the streets were laid out, the drains, those small, could take, you know, the flow of storm water and all that. Now it's a mess. My office is on the 6th floor, so I told them, one of the town planning people came to the office to visit. So I took the person to the balcony and showed the person the neighborhood and said, when I was growing up, this place didn't look like this. Look at how nasty this place looks like Lego that has been, you know, dumped on the ground and scattered. He told me, oh, really? Don't you know we rezoned this area? So we rezoned. So even these small buildings are going to go. It's going to go above 11 story. He was totally unrepentant. Probably couldn't see like how I was seeing. But these are the statutory authorities who are in charge of giving building permits and zoning and things like that. So I really don't know the way forward. The slums and things that have sprung up, nobody seems to care. One of the assembly people came to my office last week, and I told him, you know, something like those Oxford Street, the place really stinks when you are walking along there. There are organizations along the road. don't you collect property rate or something from them? He said, oh, we collect building operating permit. So what are you doing to make the place at least sanitized? Because it's so nasty. And another topic came up and the person just dismissed me. So I really wonder the way forward, because it just distresses me when I move around Accra. Accra looks like a slum with pockets of brightness. Yeah. So I have no answer really. I think I've just added to the lamentation.
You've given lamentation points, but I find it interesting when we fly a dignitary down, a dignitary comes down. We as a country strategically pass the people through certain places. They have to pass them through the Silver Star, 37, straight to Kempinski or something. When we finish, we send them straight back quietly. So if we have to pass some other place, we pass at night. They have to say, so the people, when they come, they say, wow, high rise is beautiful. They have to say, holiday in Silver Star, wow, National Theatre, moving pic, and stuff like that. But for a Kanda, there's a Nima. For the Ridge, there's an Accra. For Anosu, there's Osu. There's Osu. So it's something I've also thought about, but I don't know what's going to happen because.
Can you repeat your questions once more?
No problem. So the first one was, can you touch on the rise of kiosk communities and how we can improve our streetscape in the cities? How the whole landscape looks like.
Yeah, well, she just spoke about the reason for it having there.
Yeah.
But I can tell you authoritatively, and this is not playing politics, but the reason Accra is not changing the way it should change, it's changing negatively, but change positively, is because there's no will, the real will to do. The town planners produced in the KNUST working, they are very good. And there is a plan for Accra, which if implemented, Accra will not be what it is. Unfortunately, it is not implemented. All sorts of things happen, like a politician can go to how do they call it? The Fadama people, there's a name, Sodom and Gomorrah, and say that, because they are hailing him, and they say, don't worry, I'll do your street for you. You have, and 2 weeks later, the asphalt is there. But go and take the structural plan of Accra and see if there should be asphalt somewhere in Sodom and Gomorrah for people to stay there. It is not. The most expensive places in Accra, they sell charcoal. Just from Makola towards Tudu. It's a long time since I went there, so I don't know if they are still there, but that kind of land in the urban setting, they sell charcoal there. Okay? But if somebody will have the will to do what it takes, Accra will be okay. You see, you see the traffic every day. You are coming from Adentan to here, and you see how the traffic builds. Or Teshinungwa, you are coming, you have the traffic there. Assuming tomorrow morning, somebody brings an order, they remove all the houses in Teshinungwa and Sakumono, they pull them down, made the place flat. Do you think there will be traffic coming from there? No, because nobody is living there. Yeah. Okay, so if 2 months later, the person decides that, okay, let's put up a mosque there. So the mosque is there. What will happen? Every Friday, there will be traffic. So this is just to show you that traffic is generated by the activity of human beings. And the planners know how to position the activities in such a way that traffic will not be generated. So we must follow what they say. That we don't. That's why you have it. And now, when you have followed the planner's guide and you've done what they have to, then together with the planners, the urban planners and whatever, you have specific building heights in a certain area, that area, whatever, and then you improve the streetscape that you are talking about. That is my answer to what you are saying.
So who the enforcers? Who will enforce the enforcers to do the right thing? That's why I think she said that because they have to enforce what they have to enforce. You know, see. What are some of the key challenges for urbanization in Ghana?
Oh, some of the challenges are lack of, you see, with the planning, you should, and I think they started doing that some time ago. They said, look, take the bulk market outside Accra, stop it at Amasaman. So the huge trucks bringing the stuff to Accra will stop at Amasaman, and the retailers will go and buy it and bring it to Accra to come and sell. Then you see the traffic will stop there, and then also the urbanization that is Accra becoming choked will also stop there because they have work there. They will build or live there. But since nobody is doing that, everybody is working in Accra, so they are all pushing onto Accra, and that's why we have that. So in short, some of the way to stop the serious urbanization is to send some of the work outside the urban areas, and then people will live there, and you can cut it down. Yes.
I mean, those who live at Adenta and East Legon towards that direction, if their offices were there, traffic will reduce. Those who live at Kaneshi, Kaswa side, if their offices were there, yes. If you live where you work,
and if you have factories and businesses in Wa and Koforidua and Mampo, some of those places, the people there will stay there to work. They won't come to Accra.
Sure.
So somebody must find a way of getting factories in those areas, and then the people will stay there to work.
The only concern is that maybe your boss knows that you live next door, so any small thing they'll call you.
Yeah, you'll be happy.
Yes. Change jobs.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give someone who wants to study, an architect who wants to study urban planning and design with respect to Ghana?
Advice.
Please put the mic close.
We go.
The person is just studying.
The person is going
Or
to study.
The person is apprehensive about the future because of the way things are unplanned.
Yes, so the person intends to study a master's program in urban planning and design. That's their passion. Yes, but on considering that with respect to...
The question is a bit open-ended. Does the person intend to work with the government organization or do something new? Because there's always space for you. If God gives you a purpose, He will create the space for you. So, I mean, I don't know. The person is probably apprehensive because of what is happening around. But if the person believes that is what he or she is supposed to train for, the person should go ahead. It might not be only planning Accra. It could be other things that could come up. Maybe new things can come up where the person can be part of doing the master plan. You don't know what the future holds. I mean, Mr. Sowah is here. In 83, when there was hunger, we thought Ghana would collapse. It didn't.
I think that there's even a plan to transform the coast, the Independence Square. I've forgotten the name of the plan.
Yeah, I can't remember, but
yes, but a lot of tall buildings and
beach development.
Beach development front of them.
Is ending up with the fishing harbor at Jamestown.
Yes. So it's a whole.
That in itself is urban planning. Yes, it's urban planning. But you see, they are doing that and neglecting the other parts of Accra. You know, but seriously, when that gets developed, it's not going to affect the traffic positively. It's going to affect it negatively. Yes, because they all have to drive from there into the high street before going anywhere else they are going.
Okay, and that kind of.
So,
Yeah, but the person should go ahead and do the training. Maybe the person is the Esther of the future.
Amen.
For the
amen.
appointed time. The person is trained for the appointed
exactly.
time.
Amen.
Exactly.
Amen. As a time as this. How does Christianity play in architecture? It's a weird question, but you know, if you're in government, I can easily say that, oh, how does Christianity play with respect to the corruptions and the funny business and ethical decisions? So with architecture, it's hard to ask that question, but similarly, how does Christianity and holding up your faith come to play with respect to architecture? I'm guessing maybe the permit direction, but yes, I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, actually, ethics in architecture is very, very, very important. Ethics, very, very important. So we can move from there and transform it into probably the Christianity element in that. You need to be very ethical, both in your design and then in your dealings with your clients and your employees as well. You need to be that. So what I can say is that maybe being guided by Christian principles, you'll be straightforward, honest in your delivery to your clients, and maybe especially working for government, you need to get your antenna up, maybe higher and constantly, to make sure that you don't fall prey to some dirty deal or something or whatever. Because from what we've told you, you must see how the architect's finger is in every pie as the work goes on. And you know yourselves how getting the work, implementing it, paying the contractors and whatever. There can be all sort of funny situations. Maybe you stand your ground and then you make sure that the Christian that you are prevails. That is, well, these are the comments I can make concerning maybe Christianity and architecture. I don't know what Auntie Vic will be able to say.
For me, my faith, I can only talk about myself as a person, is the pivotal fulcrum around which all aspects of my life evolve. So I'm a Christian who happens to have trained as an architect. The distinction is clear there. I believe I'm accountable to God. I will give an account one day of my life as an architect. So I try as much as possible to do things that when I stand before God, He can say, I'm striving for well done, good and faithful servant. So I try to be honest in my dealing. I try to be early on time. If I have a meeting at 3, unless I'm ill, 10 minutes before time, I'm there. People get a bit unsettled because they find it quite un-Ghanaian.
Yeah.
But I'm working for the kingdom of God. So that is it for
Kingdom
me.
time.
Honesty. When I say A, it should be A. Excellence. I strive for excellence because, even with the sacrifices the Israelites were given, God was specific about how it should be, a lamb without blemish. So for me, that is how my work should be. I'm not a perfect person, but I do the best I can so that the client sees it as something excellent. Then they might ask, why does she do things the way she does it? Oh, she's a Christian. She goes to Accra Church. I believe that is, then I would have achieved something. And then with ethics, in our part of the world, it's a bit difficult to do the right thing. you will suffer for it. But I think as a Christian, suffering is part of our calling, so you should be prepared for it. Let me just give you 2 quick examples.
Sure.
When I was property member, we needed of Richard School, we needed a particular document. And they told us to come and pay something. And I said, we are not paying. For 1 whole year, we didn't get the document. Then a new officer came into office who I knew someone who knew him. And we went to see him about our outstanding document. 2 weeks later, we got it.
Hey.
Another one, a client of mine wanted a building permit, and they said we should come and pay something. I couldn't tell her that she wasn't in Ghana, she was in Congo, a Ghanaian. So when she calls, I said, oh, the building permit, oh, we are on it. I really didn't know what to tell her. Then one day I'm at home and she calls me, oh, thank you so much for the building permit. I just received it. I am so grateful to you. She was thanking me. I couldn't say anything because I had no hand in her getting the building permit. Somehow, she had gotten the building permit. So God comes through for us. As for suffering, you suffer. Our profession, like Mr. Sowah has said, there are many, many opportunities to make illegal money. Many opportunities. But who are you working for? And ultimately, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to be known as an architect who made a lot of money? Or when you stand in the morning and you're having your quiet time with God, you can say, God, I worship you. I thank you for who you've made me. I want to work for your glory so that when I stand before you, you'll be proud of me. What is your ultimate aim? We are living for eternity, not only here. So it's difficult to be a Christian who is an architect in our part of the world. But there are several stories. But let me say, God, He will see you through. Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, those stories are not Bible stories. They happen to real people. You will go through the fire, but it shall not burn you. Your clothes will not even smell of smoke. But the fire there, you go through. That's what I have to say.
So you see, when I wrote my profile for you, if you check, you see that the last thing I wrote was that I said the issue of ethics is very, very important to me, because sometimes some people think they say, "Oh, or this and that," but that is what I want to do. And you see, I had worked for a government organization, Customs. I worked for them for quite a number of years. And if I tell you what happened there, you find it amazing. But you have to stand your grounds. People say, but, look, I traveled all the way to Tamale. And the pickup I went with came to pick me up. And there was a sheep standing at the back of the pickup. Where is the sheep from? Oh, it's from so-and-so, a contract, whatever. I said, please, put the sheep down, because I'm not going to have this sheep. If he wants to give sheep, let him take it to headquarters and give it to the customs officers there. Well, one of the times, the sheep stayed in the vehicle. When we got to Accra, I got down, and my wife can tell you I didn't bring a sheep home. So whoever owned that sheep, I don't know. So that is it. There are temptations, but like she said, you must stand your ground. And I mean, you didn't ask me this question, but I wrote there to you that the issue of ethics
and integrity,
very, very important to me.
Yeah.
So, and this has been from my beginning to my old age now. And I have not had trouble or anything anywhere. So it works.
Okay, so you've spoken about how important Christian ethics are: excellence, integrity,
honesty,
ethics, honesty,
on time,
being time conscious, very important. And you also mentioned earlier that because of your line of work, you automatically have to manage a lot of people, lead a number of people in different fields. And one thing that you have to manage or deal with is dealing with people with different temperaments, different characters. Is there anything you'd want to say about that? As in, like, what are the key traits that stand out when it comes to specifically managing people under you as a leader that you can share with us?
Like maybe how do you pick your people? How do you manage them?
Exactly.
What's your leadership style?
Exactly.
What are some of the issues you've noticed working with certain people? What would you advise someone who's leading people?
I thought you. Well, I had a big difficulty in that. So let me give you an example. A lady walked into my office and wanted to do the training before the professional exam. And I wondered why and how she came to my office and didn't go anywhere else. But that's a weakness that I have. Eventually, by the time that lady finished her training with me and passed the exams and so, I learned today that she worked with her. She has now become my daughter. It got me involved even in her marriage and whatever. My wife knows whom I'm talking about. So sometimes you are working with the people, but you can't help showing interest in their daily lives and their home affairs and so forth, because they are human beings like you, and they have issues. So, and if the issues are resolved, it makes your work in the office also better. But that can bring complications to you yourself. But well, I don't think I lost much because of that. Rather, I can say I gained. Should I say? I was going to say friends, but maybe I gained relations. Rather, you know, and most people who work with me and left my office to work elsewhere still are in very good relationship with me. Before these things started, I told you about the young man in Red Kufla that I'm using, because that's one of such persons. So, depending on how you manage the people, work with them and whatever, you may not be paying them even well enough, but they stay with you, they work with you because of probably the way you are treating them and whatever.
I will deal with the people I work with twofold. The consultants, allied consultants I work with, and then the people in my office. I sort of inherited people because I work with my dad. So God is wonderful. We went through a very bad patch at a point. And then all the architects, apart from, I was the only architect left in the office because it was a bad patch for about a year. And so I sort of now had the chance to now start working with my own people without inheriting the people my dad worked with, because it could be difficult. These are people who saw you when you came fresh into the office. Are you now going to be giving them instructions? But they sort of all moved away. And and we even moved office anyway. So the new office, we are just enough to fill the place. So now the people I work with in the office are people we worked with for years, and then a couple of new ones. So I try my best, because they are mostly men who are big on respect, to be very respectful of them, to be very polite. I don't rebuke workers openly. I call you aside and do it privately, because you are someone's father or someone's husband. I can't talk to you anyhow, even though you are my junior colleague. And we try, now we've brought in new things. We do morning prayers every Monday. I try to let the staff feel they have a stake in the company. A prayer was answered recently. Something we had prayed about at morning devotion got answered. When we got the money, I gave everybody something so that you see that we prayed and God answered. So everybody get a tip and have some lunch. And we celebrate birthdays to Christmas, we give bonus, that sort of thing. For allied consultants, I've also sort of now, I inherited some people from my dad, but now I've built my own team based on people I worked with, met at various points, who are nearer my age and I'm more comfortable working with. And in all this, you as an architect have to be intelligent and know how to lead. Respect is not a given. Respect is earned. So you must show that you know your staff. When you are going for meeting, you must be prepared. You see that the allied consultants respect your opinion automatically. Not because you are the architect giving orders, but they trust your judgment. All this comes back to wisdom from God. I mean, when you go to his throne room daily, he gives you wisdom and tells you things that you wouldn't have known as a normal human being. So I think that's how I deal with people I work with.
Interesting. Also specifically for you, Mr. Theo, I realized that like you worked with a particular firm for a short period of time and then went off to start your own consultancy. I wanted to ask what the experience was like, especially deciding to start your own thing. Because I think usually people get comfortable, maybe working for someone, that you have a regular income, like a monthly salary, so you're sorted out. But the minute you think, okay, I want to go off and start on my own, then it's like you should have had capital prepared, there's uncertainty, there's risk involved. How was it for you?
I wonder if I can even remember all that and say. See, when I went to AES or AES, look, you are fresh from school. You know only the books. You don't know the practicals. But there were seniors there, and if you humble yourself, they will teach you. And I remember that I have been appointed project architect for this job. I had to go to the site with the clerk of works. And he was called Abu. I remember him very well. And I don't know much. So how am I going to lord it over him? I made sure I humbled myself and I said, Abu, this one I don't know. What do we do? Then he would tell me, and we were even going in his car to the site. So humbling yourself, you learn and learn more, and that's what I did. So maybe after 6 months, after a year, I didn't need Abu to tell me what to do anymore because he has taught me. So he felt comfortable in knowing that he was the one who taught me. He felt good, and he felt comfortable going about with me, looking at some other jobs. So I think the thing is the humility. That's what will teach you a lot. So then, when you have come out working, you have learned there, and you can apply that in the field that you have come. So of course, I was working for myself. It was not easy, but like she had just said, it was just by the grace of God that you find yourself earning enough to be able to pay the people you are working with to make them happy, and then you have some to spend on yourself and so on and so forth. So really, I can't recollect the really serious dangers or risks when I came to work for myself, but I just know that it went well. Yeah. But the humility to learn is most important, yes. The humility to learn.
Okay, thank you. For you, Auntie Vicky, you worked with your dad, and you've talked about still working with your dad, exactly. And
but she's the boss there now. She's the boss over her father.
Interesting. So, you've touched on how you built your relationship with your colleagues. I want to zero in into how you did it with your dad, because separating he being your dad and that responsibility over you, and then looking at you as more like a partner, accepting your opinions, how was that for you? How did you navigate?
Well, my father, will he be watching YouTube? I hope he's not watching. But When I go to the office tomorrow, I'll tell him that if anybody tells you anything, ask me. I'll tell you the truth. It's been a very difficult journey. I think when a parent is working with a child, the parent tends to see the child as the babe in arms. You see, my father is, for the first 2 years of my life that I lived with a grandmother, my father brought me up as a single dad till I was 10. So you can imagine how involved he had been in my life. I mean, it's when I was 10 that he remarried. So to see, your daughter that used to come to the office and you are doing something and she tells you, I think a better way to do it is this. I think it can be difficult. I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. So it has been, the journey was challenging for years, till we've come to a point where he's realized that what I tell him works. And now too, he's older. So he's seen that when he gives me the tasks, I'm able to execute it. And in one of our moments of disagreement, I told him that, you know what? Bottom line is, it's the best interest of the company that I want. I don't have any other motive. So when I say these things, maybe I'll say it because you're my dad. I might be a bit, what should I say, emotional about it. But take it in good faith, because bottom line is the good of the company I want. My dad is a good friend of mine outside work. My dad he was ahead of his time in upbringing of children. He's my friend. I can tell him anything. We can sit and chat and laugh. But when it comes to work, because it's a different ball game, I'm trying to get the right words to say it. It was difficult. And in the office we are formal. I don't call him dad, of course. He's my boss.
Mr.
I have to call him Mr.
So.
And if we are having private conversations, I close his door so that we can be in there and have our private social conversation. When it comes to work, then it's been a juggling act because I've worked with him for so long. Now I've gotten a hang of it. But in the beginning, it was difficult because I'll just come and burst out and say something funny, forgetting that there are workers around and he's their boss. It took a bit of time, but now I believe by God's grace we reached a point where we are able to work together well. Now, really, my father doesn't do many things. I think I've been able to earn his trust, so now I'm in charge of a lot of things.
So I'm also picturing now your daughter telling you that there might be a better way to do something. So the next generation has value in many ways. What would your advice be working with a relative? I'm just curious.
Be sure that God put you there. Because once God put you there, non-negotiable, that is where you are to stay. Any challenge you face is for your progress and for the good of the company. So try not to mix personal stuff with work stuff. They are two different things. Because it's a juggling act, but you have to learn it. You have to learn not to be, cozy, chummy with the person in front of the other stuff. Otherwise, the equilibrium of the office becomes, unbalanced. It's something you have to learn. And relatives, I am a bit skeptical about employing a relative unless I'm very, very sure that the person will do the work well. Because an outsider, you can employ an outsider, the outsider misbehaves, you fire the person or you rebuke the person. If your cousin comes to work with you, and maybe you live with your auntie and she brought you up, and her son has misbehaved genuinely, and you tell the son off in front of workers, and it gets to the family, and they hear that because of this small post you've gotten, now you started shouting on your cousin. You don't want that trouble. It's too much trouble. So with relatives, I'm very careful when... No, this I can't say. But
don't worry. It's okay. It's fine.
When it comes to relatives, I'm very careful. So far, I don't work with any relative in my office apart from my dad. I have relatives who are allied professions, but I'm very careful.
Yeah.
I don't. Better not to rock
What
the
if
family boat.
your niece or your
Yeah.
nephew wants employment?
Because those things, they won't forgive you.
Yeah.
Other people you don't know, I mean, you can, well, but relatives,
Yeah.
Unless Mr. Sowah has nice relatives.
Well, actually, a nephew of mine, unfortunately, he's passed away. But he lived with us when he was learning the draftsmanship at that time. And when he finished, he worked with me. But some of the issues you are talking about as problems came up. Well, unfortunately, I took him to my elder brother, and I said he should take over and find a job for him, whatever. Yes, so he had to leave. Yeah. Sorry?
You were able to fire him?
Yes. because you see, the point is, even if you yourself, you find out that you are not efficient in doing the work, it's better for you to employ somebody to come and do for you. Okay. So that the person will earn more money, you can pay him well, and you have some as well. Than get somebody who is not working well for you and spoil your work.
But
unfortunately, I had to fire him. I took him to my brother, my senior brother. I said, please, take this, your nephew away.
I find this very interesting, though. Imagine you're in the office with your nephew or something. You fire him, and then you are the one who drives him home with you. And then you have dinner together. And then your wife will ask him, how was his day? It is well. Right. Amen. This is very interesting. Very interesting. How has balancing been like for the two of you? Because architecture is a very demanding job. So balancing that with family, with church responsibilities, and even social life, how do you balance? Balance is not my strong suit, so this question is very, very close to me.
Well, you like to start by saying how you keep him awake with your light on in the bedroom till the next morning.
God bless you.
Because I have somebody here who can tell you what it is like. The light is on in the bedroom and you are asleep. But because what you go through at architecture school, sitting up late and all that, is not for jokes. It's real. So when you get to the school, you better learn it, because when you come out to town, you are coming to practice it. Yeah. The clients are more drastic than your lecturers. Because I don't know whether you had it easy, but clients will give you impossible deadlines and tasks. I need to have this information because I'm meeting my bank manager tomorrow, that, to go and do this.
I know that I can relate. In my field, I can relate.
And so you have to deliver. And sometimes the unfortunate thing is that you are working with staff members. And how are you going to get somebody? He also has a home to manage, and you want to keep him till the night and whatever. This is something that anytime I talk and I come to that, I have to say about your former boss, Becky. The way Becky operated in my office, I never found anybody doing that. And but I believe it's being a Christian, being whatever. Because Becky will ask permission. She wants to go and do this and that in Accra. I say, okay. She goes. Then Saturday morning, I go to the office because I want to finish some work. I get there and Becky is there working. I say, Becky, what brought you here? When I asked the permission, I went to this way and that place. I couldn't finish this thing, so I've come to finish it before Monday. She was doing that. She asked permission, she got a permission, but she didn't finish some work, so she's come and finish it and whatever.
How was Becky's social life? I'm curious. I'm curious. No, I'm curious because
You work with Teresa.
I work like that, and my social life is not the best.
Yes,
so
yes,
I'm
actually,
curious.
Becky is something like that. You are right. No, okay. No, Becky's social life, I think, just like everybody else.
That's fine. She made time. Yeah.
She had time to do all those things, but she was that disciplined, and I don't recollect working with anybody else who did that. Yeah.
God bless Becky.
A balanced life. All aspects of my life.
Yes. Social, children, church, husband.
Okay. I would say I've been very fortunate. I've been very blessed. Then, because I work with my father, when I started having children, I had, what should I say? I could close early, and that's what, I think it's company policy, but I could, close early to go and take care of the children. And my life sort of was around the same radius, because I work quite near Raychurch. And my mother-in-law, who was the pillar in my life, because that's where I would leave the children when I go to work, was also within that same radius. So, and then, okay, for the first 2 pregnancies, I had a bad time. So I went to live with my mom, biological mom, during those periods, before and after. And then when I start work, the children go to my mother-in-law's place in the morning. And I got a nanny who comes during the day, in the morning, to help my mother-in-law when I go to work. So that when I close in the evening and pick the children, she goes home. And I had a cleaner at home. Even with this, I would say this, that even with cleaners, you have to be careful, because it's not, you, the woman, have to be in charge of your house. So although she would clean for our bedroom, laying our bed, folding my husband's clothes, and cleaning our dressing mirror, I wouldn't let her do that, because that's personal space. Yeah. And she would come, iron the clothes and things, and leave, so that in the evening, I'm alone with the children, and I'm forced to take care of them. If you have help during that time, you are tired from work, you just let the person do it. But I was forced to do it, forced to feed them, forced to bath them, so that I'll be involved in their life. And by God's grace, the husband I have sort of has a very similar trajectory. He was working with his father. He's a very liberal, supportive, and easygoing person.
God bless Mr.
Hayford. I want this, I want that. He's not that kind at all. Very supportive. In fact, when we stand together, the way he talks architecture, when people come towards us, they talk to him, they think he is the architect and not me.
For a while, I actually thought he was an architect.
Yes, because he has the terms and he'll be talking, and he has my back for that one, I'm sure. And because he's liberal, he allows me space to work, say on weekends to do private work. He allows me space to work. He's not fussy. Have I mentioned my mother-in-law?
Yes.
Yes. Let me stand up for her.
God bless her.
As for the mother-in-law I got, I salute her. She passed away last year at the age of 90. That she was a treasure.
Amen.
When the children were younger, on weekends, they would go to my mom's place. My younger sister was not married then, and she had a lot of time for them. She would take them around the salon and things like that, so that on Saturdays I would have time for myself, and then Kojo and I, my husband, spend time together. So I would say having a balance is about maximizing all the opportunities you have, because there really is time for everything. Break time, because Raychurch was near my office. When I was property member, I could come here during break time to go around and see supervised projects that are going on. And because my children were in Raychurch school too, it was an opportunity to see them, see their teachers and things like that. So break time, you can see your children, monitor their life sort of, all within that space. For cooking, for the first 11 years, I was able to, but after my son was born, I was no longer able to. And my mother-in-law, as usual, took it upon herself that let's pool our resources and eat together. Because, my husband's cousin was there doing the cooking. So I guess we've been doing that ever since. So I've had a lot of help. A lot of help. For the children, they know that there are certain things that are non-negotiable in the house. By age 6, the sinner's prayer, you said it. At the end of the year, devotional book I'll buy for you. Your quiet time daily, you have to read, because I tell them God has no grandchildren. You have to know him for yourself.
Oh,
I
nice.
try to live out, the Christian life, so that you see that what I say, I do. I try to be their friend as much as possible. Well, 2 of them are here, so if I'm not telling the truth, they will draw me out. And we couldn't really have morning devotion because of our schedule at home. So because we had 2 cars, we rented a place for a driver near our house, so that in the morning the driver will come and pick my empty car and bring it to my office.
Okay.
And then my husband, the children, and myself will sit in one car, so that we can pray, we can share the word, we can find out, what's happening, because it was a long drive.
Yeah.
So at least every day, the devotion was done in the car. In the evening, with the girls, it was easy. With my son, he's different. I'll buy Bible story books. I remember a particular one about the prodigal son, the son who came home.
Yeah.
My first daughter, for example, would eagerly look, they would be ready in the bed, because you tell them that story, and you don't just say the story. You bring in, add things,
modernize it.
And you see the joy on their face, because Christianity is a joyful relationship. So it shouldn't be like something drab you are forcing the children to do. Well, by God's grace, I believe they are still in the Lord. You make them aware of the dangers like that. Without Jesus Christ, you wouldn't be who you are. So, I think there are, apart from family scriptures we have, which you recite in the car in the mornings, there are certain things I tell, like Jesus Christ is your everything. Hold on to him with your heart, your head. There are things we see. Opportunity, when it comes, take it with your hands and your feet and your everything. There are things I see. I think they are a bit tired of it. But I want to drum it so much into them that when you wake them up from sleep, they can recite it without, from memory. So that's about. Things have changed a bit now, because when they reach JSS, because my mother-in-law's home was near the school, they moved to live with her. The girl, the first 2, she's passed away now, but they still live in the house. Now they are older. And their brother also just finished JSS. He's also moved in to live with them. So right now, their dad works from that house. So in the morning, they see him, and then when I close from work, I come there, and we ask how each other's day is and things before we go home. So my husband and I sort of live alone now, and the 3 of them live in their grandparents' house, temporarily. So I think that's about it. Yeah.
I admire the part of being intentional to the point of letting even the driver take the car on his own, and then you joining your family. It's an idea or copy.
Do you want to add, like, from the perspective of maybe a father,
Yeah,
how difficult
yes.
it's been?
Well, all I say is that thanks to mothers-in-law, because my mother-in-law helped us to really balance things so well, because my wife also was at that time working in the bank, and the banks didn't have the electronics available now. So it was really a hard time. Sometimes we'll keep very long in the office and whatever. But apart from that, both of us are able to make time for other social things. Like I told you, I wrote in what I gave you. Being in Rotary is part of my blood. You see, I like belonging to groups that are doing something for people. So as I wrote, I mean, I had been a member of the visitation group for a very, very long time. I started becoming delinquent when she became the leader, but that also was because of the time change in the visits. Now they even visit in the morning, but at that time it was in the evenings. So for me, I know that Mondays and I think Thursdays at that time, no matter what I was doing, I knew I had to be here before 5, so we can go for visits. I didn't leave my Rotary either. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. So if you organize yourself well, you can do all those things perfectly. I attended the Rotary meetings and the events and whatever. And some of the Rotary events, when I'm going, we go together because Rotary supports the family. So it's just okay. I also, at that time, spent a lot of time on the Ghana Institute of Architects and then the Architects Registration Council and all that. I was so heavily involved, partially also because there was no Architects Registration Council from the beginning, and I brought that into existence. So you can see that I had so much to handle because of that. Thanks to the late Professor Ralph Milstetter, he was available to help me put up the ARC to come into being. Now, with all that, that's why I said where mothers-in-law are invaluable. I mean, our children were like second Sunday school at my mother-in-law's house. When they come back home from there, they will be able to recite some Bible passages. They will be singing what Mama has taught them and whatever. And because Mama really should have have started a school, because other grandchildren also came there and whatever. So with that, you had to find time to do the architecture. So she's sleeping and the light is on and I'm sitting behind the table working. And I can say that my body clock has got used to it. So even as at now, she can confirm to you that 2 a.m., no matter what time I slept, I still will wake up. And if I have nothing to do, maybe go back to sleep. But most times, I have something to do, maybe write some report or whatever. So I go and sit down and try to do it. So where there's a will, there's a way. And the Bible itself said it. Where I like to say it in Ga. When I say it in Ga, it sings to me better. You understand that? No? Maybe somebody should translate that.
Yeah, where your treasure is, that's where your heart is.
I like saying it in the Ga. It sings more to me. You see, so once you know where your treasure is, it's very easy to get your heart there, and then you can do what you need to do. That's what makes the balancing. So, if you say that, oh, I don't have time, I can't go to church, oh, the visitation group today, let them go. No. You must decide in you that you are doing that for somebody, and that person is the one on top looking at you. So it should be easy to do it, So
Amen.
that helps the balancing.
So, sorry. Yeah, speaking of spousal support and the balancing and your children, what would you advise a young person looking for a partner to look for? The qualities.
I don't know what to say. Look, I met my wife on the basketball court. And
Wow.
I told her, I'm going to marry you.
Love and basketball.
And I did. She was playing, yes, she was playing basketball, she was playing hockey. And
Wow.
I didn't know how to play, but I knew how to watch and cheer.
Oh, wow.
But you see, so I'm hoping that I really, really pray that for all other people, they will come to meet the right people, and they will feel like I felt. I told her, I'm going to marry you, and I did.
I know the basketball courts, they are not that. So maybe Accra more.
So, but the important thing is, I'll just go back and say something. You know that in the olden times before us and whatever, even our parents and grandparents thought we had changed. So I don't know what they would say now if they were alive. But you know that at that time, they found wives and husbands for people, and they put them together. Yeah. And some of them, no, I don't want to say some, most of them stayed well and whatever. So we should ask ourselves, they didn't go to select them. They were selected for them. How come they were able to stay that way? And if you begin to relate how you're living with your husband today and how I'm living with my wife today, you'll find out that it is not too difficult, because here you are one. Why do you do what you shouldn't do to make her angry, or she does it to make you angry? And why do you even get angry? Yes, because some of my friends, I tell them that, but if I do that to you and you are angry, you want me to go and do it to somebody I don't know so he will kill me. It's you I'll do it to, because you won't kill me. You know. So I think it is the attitude, the understanding, love, and all that put together that will make your selection right. But sometimes your selection may not go right because of you yourself, your attitude, and then maybe your spouse's attitude as well. Because if nothing at all, you must recollect that you want to make a vow to somebody up there, and you must keep that vow. So you must find a way to make it possible for you to keep that vow. They were nailing somebody on the cross. He stayed because he has promised his father that he will die.
Family business.
Yes.
Yes,
family business. That he will die. So you also, if you made a promise to that same person, try to keep it.
Yeah. But some people are asking, if not my will but your will, let this cup of suffering pass over me. Auntie Vicky.
I cannot advise a young man because I'm not a man.
Oh, you try.
The question. Women,
okay.
Based on, I'm not a marriage counselor.
No problem.
So, based on my little experience, you must know yourself as a Christian, and then there are some non-negotiables. The Bible says, "Do not be unequally yoked with an unbeliever." So the person must be a born-again Christian. The person must be a disciple of Christ. You know, we have types of Christians. Some are, Jesus is my provider. Jesus is my healer. We want the man who is, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. Then there's, the two of you are accountable to God. And once you're a Christian and obeying Christ and living out the fruit of the Spirit, it makes relationships easy. Because love, joy, peace. If you are someone who finds it difficult to forgive, the Bible says, do not keep a record of wrongs. You know, the Holy Spirit helps you as you are work in progress. Because I give my example. My husband and I lived the streets apart. We had never seen each other ever till we saw each other at Accra Church. And then when we became friends and we realized we had a lot of things in common. We both, later on, both worked for our fathers. We both went to school in Cape Coast. We were both in the same hall in KNUST at different times.
Who is Auntie So?
I mean, who? Who in this world could have known that the man living on the next street has these things in common with you, but God Almighty?
Yeah.
So it's very important that you go to God in prayer and get it right, because it's not everyone who is suitable for you. I know a gentleman. I think he talks too much. So I look at him and I say, this man, I can't stay with him for 24 hours, 7 days a week. He's been married for more than 40 years. His wife says he's the best husband in the world. So he's suitable for her. So it's not everybody who is suitable for it. God will give you, you the woman, you have to be a helper suitable for someone so that you flow together. You are friends. You have things in common. I was brought up by a stepmother who is of the same tribe as Kojo, my husband. When I'm teasing him, I say, if I hadn't lived with my stepmother, I couldn't have spoken your language. Marrying you would have been a culture shock, because I wouldn't have known that your tribe, they crack expensive jokes and nobody takes it serious. Yeah. It would have been difficult for me that you can tell someone that, and the person will laugh. Where I come from, it's not funny.
Yeah.
But where he comes from, they will add to the joke and everybody laughs, and that is the end of it. If I hadn't been brought up that way, I think it would have been too much of a culture shock for me. So God is a perfect matchmaker. Trust him, pray, fast. It's a very important part of your life. People have died. A close friend of mine died. A close relative died because of wrong choice. A nice guy who is not a Christian is just nice. He is not suitable for you. He is not working for the kingdom of God. If you go for all night, the person won't understand. I mean, I can't say it's enough. Don't let anybody pressurize you to take the wrong decision. When you are suffering in your home, they will be chilling in their home, sleeping soundly, and you'll be fasting and praying 21 days and binding and losing. Don't give yourself stress. Relax and let God do his work. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Wow. We have been advised. Thank you. On behalf of all young women. Okay, I think I would like to ask, does anyone have any questions? Okay. So if not, I think I'll ask the very...
I'm sure they have said no.
I think they are whispering no.
I thought I saw Kojo stand up.
What question?
It's a question you usually ask.
The legacy one, or
yes,
they're changing the society?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask. So, it's now over to you.
Oh, so the question is, if there was one thing you could change about this Ghanaian society as it is now, what would it be?
We'll talk forever.
That Christians will live in obedience to the Lord. Because the Bible says righteousness exalts a nation. Sin is a reproach to any people. If we Christians who are called by the Lord's name obey him and live for him, our nation will be exalted. We don't need to do anything else and go run to anybody for help. God is able. That's one thing I'll change, that we become solid, proper Christians. Yeah, not, wishy-washy ones.
Interesting. Okay. So anything to add?
Well, this is something which had been in my mind for probably more than 10 years. But I think the past few weeks I've been discussing with some of the big influential men in town, because I find the not the youth, but the entire population generally. Remember I told you that ethics is very important to me. You see, we hear about people taking bribes, people doing this, and
us covering that.
Yes, all sorts of things happening. So, and like I'm saying, I started thinking about this more than probably 10 years ago. I asked myself, So what can happen? Hey, this one, maybe God will have to take all of us away and bring fresh people with his blessings to come and inhabit the nation. You know, and even this morning, I wasn't in church. I went on some site inspection for the Anglican church. So there were 4 of us driving in a vehicle. We went on that trip, came back before I came here. And while we were on there going, we were talking about Christianity, the youth, so and so and so. And then, well, because me, I'm an old man, I didn't know that they don't do Christianity now, or religion now. They said, what is the word they use? Morality.
Moral studies.
Moral studies or something they mentioned. I said, hey, why will you leave religion and talking about God, Christ, and you are talking about morality and whatever? So, you know, we talked about that. But what I've been thinking about, I said the past, whatever days I've been that, I'm thinking that, which is the way to change Ghana? Because it's so, forgive me, rotten now from my point of view. So I thought that, look, okay, maybe they will have to start, maybe call it a patriotic club or something, and start it from the grassroots, middle schools, universities, secondary school, communities, have this kind of group there where they are teaching the people how to live moral lives, how to know that it is good to destroy government property. It is bad to, it is not good to spoil government property. It is bad to take bribe and so and so, and teach them that Christ is there for us to follow. And have that kind of club, which maybe people will now feel proud to belong to that kind of club. So when they say that, oh, this guy belongs to that, then everybody knows, well, as for that guy, then he is a Christian and he's morally upright and this and that and that. And one of the big man I was talking to said, well, maybe you should write a paper on this and show how it can be done and whatever, and see whether people can come together to cost it and see how to promote that kind of thing. But this is what I'm thinking we need to do to maybe change Ghana. It will take several years, but for as they say, for a journey of 1,000 miles, there's the first step. And unless God removes all of us and he brings the new people who will not do the same thing Adam and Eve did, then, you know, because I find it very difficult to imagine what is happening. Even people that you know and trust, you hear, and then you are shocked because it's like me sitting here. Then one day I hear that they said Kojo went and took bribe to give job to somebody or whatever. I'll be surprised. The Kojo I know Kojo won't do any such thing. You see, but this time, unfortunately, this is what I personally find people doing, because some of the people that are doing things and they are talking about them, I know them. They've been my friends, not friends, but I know them and believe and trust them. And some of them I would have put my hand in the fire for them. Now I see that I'll bear my hand for free. Yes. So if you ask me, you say, what is it that I would wish to have changed? Yeah. See, I told you I could talk about it for an hour, just that alone. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. I think we've run out of time, and we just want to say thank you so much for taking time off to share with us. I think we've learned so much, even about architecture, how the profession is, and how to balance that together with your family life, and other aspects of your life. I think we've learned so much. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. Theo Akofio-Sowah. Akofio-Sowah, forgive me. And
Just say the
Victoria.
so that you'll be free.
Yes,
The sower
thank you,
did.
Sowah.
You know that in the Bible, they said somebody went to sow. A sower went to sow. So
Mr. Theo Sowah, I think I remember. Yes, and then Mrs. Victoria Hayford, thank you so much for joining us, for taking time off. And to those of us who have watched us and have followed through, thank you for joining us. And God bless you. We'll see you another time. Goodbye for now.
thank you.
Thank you.